Okay, we have the live chat here. Okay, and I guess we're live. Everything should be working. I believe so, at least. Are you guys hearing me? Sorry. And I believe we have kind of a slow delay, like 15 seconds or something like that. Oh. Hey, devilish Tay. Well, how old am I? How old do you think I am? That's actually the question. And I don't really know what I'm going to show you guys. I can show you some things, by the way. Just for you guys to know, I kind of did the live stream, and it was later than I was expecting, because I was retesting what I did basically before and wasn't working very well, which was Linux versus Windows. And I am now preparing a video with the new cards, with the RTX 5080 and the RX 9070 XT. And I'm testing other things like F-Sync, anti-sync in several other games and resolution. So kind of, this time it's only 1080p and 1440p. But yeah, you know. And let me see if I can get the comments here. I'm looking at the comments through the laptop. Hello guys, 54 watching. By the way, don't forget, hit like and share the video if you can. The mic is a bit too low, you say. Well, I guess there's not much I can do besides maybe raising the gain a bit. Oh, we have an update. Yeah, remind me later, otherwise we're gonna have issues. So for now we have like 52 dBs. Maybe like 60 is a bit too much, I guess. So 55, just a bit more. 58 and still gaming, great. And yeah, I'm 32, by the way. Yeah, 33, I'm 32. You're going to use CacheOS or Bazzite? None. I'm actually using Noctua 42, but I intend to do later a comparison in between CacheOS and Noctua 42, or CacheOS, Bazzite, and Noctua 42. I intend to make one of those comparisons. So yeah, I'm kind of messing around first to see how things go, how the benchmarks go in terms of performance, how they flow, and so on. And by the way, I'm using a new camera, and this camera is actually quite interesting because I can do things like this. For example, if I do this, it will kind of zoom out and you can see the room. I'm not seeing here live, but I know that it's doing its thing. And I can also make it follow me, and it will follow me, which is great. I can do something like this. It will be kind of Inception, but I just want to see what you guys are seeing right now. And for example, if I do this, and if I make this, the camera will follow me. And this is a camera from OBS. It is oh Jesus Christ, I'm so tired. It's an OBS bot Lite 2, and it has several features. And I'm really impressed that a webcam can do such a good quality and so on. But we'll talk a bit more about it. As you can see, it follows me, and I'll make an ad of this. But I can do things like this, and I can do kind of the dynamic zoom if I want to, something like this, I believe. I don't really know if it is working right now. It should be working, I guess. Yeah, it kind of zooms in. If I do this, it kind of zooms in like, yeah, 1.5 times. And I can do more, I guess, if I do something like this. Yeah, as you can see, it is zooming in and it is following me. And that's one of the things that I like the most. For example, if I want to show you my other computers, I can actually do it. And if I do this, like a little bit less, yeah, and I can show you the other computers that I have. Or I can even go like this, for example. As you can see, let's just do this, and it's 1.5 times, and I can go like this, and I can show you the other computers that I have here. The camera just rotates a lot, as you can see. You can even see the light, and I'm able to show you several things. And one of the things that I've been doing was basically to, let's just, yeah, zoom in, just follow me a little, and then you can, yeah, lock here. Oh, just my bad. Better. Yeah. Something like this. And then, yeah, just lock. Sorry about this, guys. I just really wanted to show you the camera. And yeah, things are insanely good for webcam. Yeah. Hello, guys. Sorry for taking so long to actually answer you. Hi Fabio, I have a question for you. I have an Asus stuff RX 7800 XT, and in games like Cyberpunk I have 50 degrees but 85-90 on the hotspot temperatures. Is it normal? Well, it isn't normal per se. It won't really affect your gaming performance, but it isn't also normal. It happens due to the usually the thermal paste or the thermal pads are really bad, or the thermal paste kind of goes to the sides of the die, and that happens after some time. It goes to the borders, and what happens is that it won't be thermally as good because of that. And that's one of the reasons why many and many more OEMs and so on are using thermal pads instead of thermal paste. Agapast, thank you for being a channel supporter for like 30 months. And way more than that, actually. Thank you very much. Show current GPU prices to camera, it will crash. We can actually, yeah, instead of having just the desktop, we can actually search for some GPU prices. What do you want to see? First America. Let's see, for example, Newegg. And I can show you, for example, some websites in Portugal, like PC Componentes. And we can see some. RTX 4070 Super or RTX 5070? Well, it is actually quite easy. You just go to my channel, you go to the video section here, and you have this video that I made with the 9070 versus the 5070, and in this video the RX 7800 XT and the 4070 Super are included. So you just go to this video and you'll have everything that you need or that you want to know. Yo, guys. Sorry, I can't really answer all the comments. There are many comments. Yeah. 027 in Portugal. Why are you not sleeping? Because I'm doing a live stream. Yeah. I'm just doing a live stream for you guys to donate lots of money so I become rich. No, yeah, I just really want to do some Q&A. And by the way, in between the 4070 Super and the 5070, what happens is that the 4070 Super is kind of already stretched. It kind of already stretched its legs, so you can't really overclock that card that much. But the 5070, even the Nvme model, which is kind of the base model, can overclock a lot. Like, I mean, a lot on both core and VRAM, and that brings more performance to the table. So yeah. Fabio, does a turbo game mode matter for the 7600X? I believe you're talking about CPUs. And usually what the turbo mode does, depending on what the motherboard, because there are several nomenclatures and so on, usually what the turbo mode does is that it raises the frequency of one or two cores instead of raising the frequencies for all the cores at the same time, at the same frequency all the time. Yeah, so turbo boost is a thing that is always enabled nowadays. The algorithms of the CPUs, they just work that way. So yeah. Fabio's saving for a new Lambo now. His old one is not good anymore. Yeah, I'm one of those guys that if I got rich, I guess he wouldn't see that much. I don't really have that ambition to become rich. Money is not everything. I do like money, of course, and it's kind of more like a freedom that money gives you. I'm not that ambitious in terms of having a huge house, a huge something. Yeah, that's not me, just not me. So, oh, wait. Adrian, I'll answer the question. Sorry, let me just answer some more comments before. H.264 on AMD is bad for streaming? Not really. H.264 is not great for streaming, especially if you're going for low video bitrate. If you want to see my settings, for example, oh my bad, just let me go to the performance mode. If you see my settings, I'm basically using 40,000 Mbps and I'm using Nvidia AV1. And I'm using AV1 right now for the sole reason that I was testing the RTX 5060 Ti on 40 games, so it is on this computer, that's why. So yeah, I'm using AV1. One of the great things that Streamlabs add an update right now, and you now can use anything that isn't H.264. Before you could only use H.264. Now let me answer the question from Adrian. Let me just see the full name. Oh, it doesn't show the full name here, so sorry, Adrian, sorry. So, hey man, could you look into AMD's frame generation in some games like Hogwarts Legacy? When I enable it, my GPU clock drops to 1600 megahertz and my performance is less than half. My GPU is the 9070 XT. That's quite interesting and should be a bug. It kind of locking. Do you have VSync enabled? Because if you do have VSync, the frame generation will get locked. And if the frame generation will get locked, imagine that you are having like 300 FPS, but you are locking your frame generation to let's say 150 or 160 or 144, because those are the hertz of your monitor. Let's just assume that. If that's the case, of course, your GPU clocks will go down because since frame generation is doing half of the frames, your GPU will kind of sleep. But if you say the performance is less, then that's kind of odd. Shouldn't really happen, and that's kind of odd, to be honest. Maybe some bug, and as I usually say, do a clean driver installation. Try using Intel XeSS, like from the video that I made, XeSS 2.1. You can now use it on Hogwarts Legacy. Maybe try to enable FSR on that game. Try to use, for example, OptiScaler and see if it does the same. Yeah, really odd bug. Hard to know without actually testing it myself. So, Ali Gorithmic. Jesus, I'm so tired. Gorithmic. Hi Fabio, I'm glad you're streaming. I have a ton of questions. I got a 5070 Ti, but I'm not sure. Should I return it and wait for the 5070 Ti Super I had before the RX 6700 XT? Well, I believe that the 5070 Ti Super will most likely have more VRAM, and that's about it. If VRAM is not really a concern, you went from a 6700 XT and the 6700 XT, I mean, going from that to a 5070 Ti, you got a huge performance uplift. So you're most likely CPU bottlenecked right now, and the 5070 Ti Super wouldn't do much. So just enjoy your card, I would say, mostly. So yeah, and by the way, sorry for not having an answer, Adrian. Really sorry. That's one of those things that I had to test myself in order to see what's going on. And thank you a lot for your donation. Okay. Okay, let me just see what we have more. Will it be UDNA, not RDNA5? No, we don't really know at this point if it is going to be UDNA, if it's going to be RDNA5. We do know that RDNA4 is going to have kind of a refresh. I believe that's the term. So yeah. Another question from Adrian. Oh, it's actually answering someone else. Yeah, the UX 1090 XTX, for example, UX. That sounds so odd. I'm so used to RX that UX sounds really odd. Hello guys, hello Pedro. And I believe that Radeon would do some shit like Radeon AI before doing UX. It would be like RAI 7900 XT, whatever. So yeah. They will most likely do something like that. By the way, if we're looking at prices, let me just see the current prices of the RX 9070 XT. This shit is crazy recently. Let's see the lowest price. $699. I believe that the MSRP was like $599, so still $100 over MSRP for the lowest model. That's crazy. I mean, we have a lot of stock. So having a lot of stock, and we are still quite above MSRP, $100. That's crazy. So Electric Johnny asks, what is your opinion on FSR Redstone? When do you think it will be released, and do you have any NDAs about FSR Redstone at the moment? As for the NDAs, I really don't. I don't really know more than you guys. Usually I know things before, let's say, 1 week, 2 weeks, when AMD shares them, of course. But this time, it is not the case. I don't really know more than you guys. I just know that FSR Redstone is kind of a mixture of several technologies that AMD is bringing, and that we now will finally have machine learning frame generation, and that's about it. I don't really know much more, sadly. Sadly. When can I expect FSR 4 or FMF 3 for my 7800 XT? Well, I do believe that FSR 4, regarding FSR 4 and all this drama that we are actually watching, let me just see the 9070 in terms of pricing. $599, yeah. Basically, the normal 9070 is at the price that the 9070 XT should be. But it is what it is. I believe that the 9060 XT should be at MSRP, like $349. Let's see the lowest price. Yeah, this is the 8 gigabytes model. We need the 16 gigabytes model. 16 gigabytes, $379. Well, in this case, it's not that bad. $369, but with shipping. Yeah, it's not that bad for the 9070 XT, but the other ones, 9070, the 9060, sorry, but the 9070 and the 9070 XT are quite high. So, going back to the comment section, as for FSR Redstone, FSR 4, actually FSR 4 for the 7800 XT, all this drama about the FSR 4 and all those things, as I said in my previous video, I believe that AMD is kind of milking RDNA4. RDNA4 is selling very well, and they're kind of trying to sell the most they can. And when they do have to go kind of back and sell the remaining stock of RDNA3, that's when they will release FSR 4 for RDNA3. Think about it. Oh, now it's following me. So yeah, I need to put down my hands. Think about it. Now they have lots of RDNA4 cards to sell, and one of the biggest selling points of RDNA4 is, of course, FSR 4. And if you bring FSR 4 for the older but still very well performing generation, in this case you have cards like the 7900 XT and the 7900 XTX that perform very well, and they are, well, quite cheaper for what they offer. They have more VRAM and so on. And if you put FSR 4 on those as well, people will just get the XTX instead of the 9070 XT, and people want to get the 9070 XT. Well, AMD wants people to get the 9070 XT, and that's why. It's quite simple, actually. And I believe that when they bring FSR Redstone, which will add value to the 9000 series, because it has the neural radiance caching and so on, what will happen is that then they will release FSR 4 for the previous generation. So basically now we have way more to sell RDNA4, so I'm gonna actually lend you FSR 4 to the RDNA3 cards, and then that way we can actually sell the stock that we currently have of the RDNA3 cards in order to sell more of the RDNA4 as well in the future, so that we can then go to RDNA5. That's just what I think. Oh, and Adrian just did another donation, thank you very much. So I tried it in a few games like Dark Tide and BF6, and I was getting this bug, but it was fine in Titan Quest 2. I have a 240Hz monitor. I tried my wife's 7900 XTX, and she gets the same issue. So annoying. That's very, very odd, Adrian. If she gets the same issue, something isn't right. For example, I tested Battlefield 6, and I didn't test frame generation, but I guess I have to. Dark Tide actually had broken FSR frame generation implementation, but you can try games. Titan Quest works very well. I played it, so I know it. You can see it is here. For example, Mafia the Old Country also works fine in terms of frame generation. Space Marine 2 also works fine in terms of frame generation. I'll give you some other examples that you can test, and if the frame generation is broken in those games, I'm 100% sure that you're having other issues there. Maybe something related to adaptive sync, something related to chipset drivers, I don't really know. For example, Stalker 2 frame generation works well too. Let me see a bit more. Starfield also works well, even though it only has FSR 3. I also tested Hogwarts Legacy with XeSS frame generation, and it works well. The normal FSR frame generation works decently, I would say. And there are some other games where frame generation works well. For example, in Cyberpunk it doesn't work that well, but if you use XeSS frame generation, it works pretty well. So it kind of depends, I would say. Star Wars Outlaws frame generation also works pretty well, and there are some others that I don't really have here. Silent Hill as well. Silent Hill works fine. But yeah, I guess that's it. But if it happens the same with your 7900 XTX, something is going on, yeah. So let's see more. Abraços do Brasil. Abraço para si também, obrigado. If that doesn't happen, RDNA5 will age badly. Exactly, it will. But if it is already working on Linux and it's getting better, it will most likely be there soon for Windows. So yeah. So processors or video cards, and now we have more questions. Sorry about that. So 118 people watching, and considering this is a live stream at this hour, and I'm just doing random topics, and you guys are asking questions, and I'm answering. It is nice to have at least 100 people watching. Chuquillos. So yeah, what are your thoughts on AMD cards? Pace in terms of adding FSR 4 to other games? Isn't it about 70 plus or something like that so far? Not too bad, in my opinion, sorry, but honestly not impressive either. Well, if you think about it, FSR 4 was implemented much faster than FSR 3.1 was at the same time. But again, FSR 4 is just a thing that they need to do if the game already has FSR 3.1. I wanted to make something like an interview with some AMD people, and I believe that will happen. It is kind of getting postponed because we now have Gamescom and so on. So I will most likely be interviewing some AMD people from the Radeon software and from the FSR development team, and I will answer some questions. And that's one of the questions that I want to answer. If, for example, if things like let's say OptiScaler can inject FSR 4 in older games with FSR 2 and so on, why doesn't AMD do that? Because even with the paths from FSR 2 or 2.1, the quality that FSR 4 would bring would be much higher. I don't really know why they don't do that. Maybe they just want to say, well, but the quality will be much lower, and we don't really want to bring, or we don't really want people to think that FSR 4 can be that bad. I don't really know. But yeah, we have like 79 games as of now, something like that. Is FSR 3.1.4 both upscaling and frame generation? No, FSR 3.1 is in frame generation and upscaling. 3.1.4 is an extension or a version of the upscaler only. So yeah. So Andy Baxter, hi Fabio, I'm experienced driver timeouts about 5 to 30 minutes of playing Hitman 3. It doesn't make a difference whether the overclocking functions are enabled or not. Well, I can tell you right away, if you're playing Hitman is a very CPU and RAM dependent and demanding title. Sorry about the pronounce and so on, and the misspelling. You're most likely having a CPU or RAM issue, and I'm like 99% sure of it. Go to your BIOS, make sure that you have enough VSOC, basically VSOC, voltage for the SoC. Make sure that you have enough enough RAM voltage. Make sure that your CPU isn't getting bottlenecked. Make sure that your curve optimizer settings are not low. Just make sure everything is going on. If you just set the RAM and CPU to stock, and when I mean stock, no expo. just like plain stock, and the computer doesn't crash, well, it is the CPU and RAM. Dylan Hans, fucking love your videos. Thank you very much, Dylan. As for the Believer X, we have Fabio. Is FSR 3.1? Yeah, I already answered that one. Fabio, I have a Samsung G4 monitor, 27 inches, 240 Hz. Is it normal that in the range of 60-90, the gameplay looks chopped like 30? Yeah, it happens that FreeSync has a range. FreeSync has a range for all monitors. Being OLED doesn't really matter. It has a range. And in some kind of lower tier monitors, what can really happen is that that range is lower, and especially since you're going to 240 Hz. What happens is that the range might actually be, instead of going, for example, like a 160 Hz monitor, the range is usually like from 45 to 160, or in better monitors, 35 to 160. I usually overclock mine to go from 45 to 35 to 160. In 240 Hz monitor, like that one that I have there, what usually happens is that maybe the lowest part of the adaptive sync might be as low as, let's say, or too high in this case, like 70. Your range might be from 70 to 240 instead of going like from 45 to 240, and that's why. There might be another thing, which is kind of one of the functions that some monitors have right now, in order to not go outside of the range, or when you go outside of the range, they kind of show double the hertz, in order to not feel as choppy. But in my opinion, it just doesn't feel great at all. So that might be where that choppiness is coming from. I don't really know, but yeah. For example, imagine that your range is from 90 to 240 Hz. As soon as you go below 90, the monitor, imagine that the monitor is showing like, not the monitor, your game is having like 80 FPS, and the monitor, instead of showing 240 Hz, since it can't really show 80 Hz because the minimum limit is 90, it will show 160 Hz in order to kind of trying to compensate, but most of the times that just doesn't work well. So yeah. So Believer and so on. So Redstone will be a separate setting like FSR4. No, Redstone is kind of a mix of several settings. Redstone is a mix of neural radiance caching. For example, I can show you one of these videos. I believe that
it becomes
that my bad.
It becomes.
I believe that I have it here somewhere. So yeah, FSR Redstone is a mix of several things. Again, a mix of neural radiance caching, machine learning ray regeneration, machine learning super resolution, and this is what FSR4 is, and then machine learning frame generation. FSR Redstone is a mix of these four technologies, okay? That's what it is. So yeah. I have to say, 4K performance FSR4 with a 9070 XT with frame generation is just amazing. Yes, FSR4 is a huge leap, and the LSS transformer is still better, definitely, in some scenarios, quite better, but FSR4 is a huge leap compared to FSR3, and it is now perfectly usable in most case scenarios, something that FSR3 really wasn't. In some, it was, of course, but not really most of them. Shamini says, your videos made me change Team Red after 2 decades on green. Well, welcome, I would say, I guess. Then we have Paladin Aldwin. Hello, Fabio. Hope everyone is doing well. Yeah, everyone is doing well, yes. I am doing well, thank you. And by the way, sorry, guys, because as you know, English is not my main language, and when I'm kind of tired, I kind of think in Portuguese first, and then I kind of translate it to English. So it's kind of we have kind of yeah, that's my cat. We have kind of a delay here, so yeah, that's why. So will Redstone features activate automatically, or will they have to be implemented like array reconstruction in the game menus? I believe that they will need to be implemented. Most likely. And one of the things that I actually asked AMD about was about the machine learning AFMF. Since we now going to have machine learning frame generation inside the game, why not have a machine learning AFMF? Like kind of lossless scaling outside of the game. As you guys know, AFMF, fluid motion frames, but with machine learning. Why not? AFMF 3. Maybe. So is Redstone a big upgrade for FSR 4? Oh, my bad. Let me just see the question there. Quadratula Momandi says, is Redstone a big upgrade for FSR 4? I'm thinking of buying an Nvidia GPU for the LSS, but if FSR 4 gets better, then I would stick with AMD. I mean, there's no reason why FSR 4 wouldn't get better. Like everything, they keep improving technologies because they are selling points, and FSR will definitely keep getting better. That's why FSR Redstone is here. So yeah. Let's see some more, I guess. So, is it okay to install new gen GPU on a DDR4 motherboard? Yeah, it is okay, of course. You just need to make sure that you don't really have a big or a huge CPU bottleneck, because if you're using DDR4, it means that you're using AM4 or you're using something like an Intel 12th or 13th generation. So make sure that you don't really have a huge bottleneck. So yeah. Okay, so Leandro Ferreira says, hey Fábio, tardito hoje, which means late today, mas vou fazer a minha questão em inglês. But I'm going to do my question in English, he says. And then he asks, 7900 XTX will have FSR 4? Well, it might have, and like I said before in the stream, I believe that it will have, of course, but after a certain time. They need more selling points to the RDNA4 GPUs, and then FSR 4 will come to the RDNA3 once in order to sell the remaining stock of RDNA3. So yeah. Now we have more questions, and by the way, guys, I'm not trying to get your money, but one thing is for sure, if you donate, the question will appear there first, and it's easier for me to see because I have a lot of questions here, and I can't actually answer every single one of them. So yeah, don't spam, please. Exactly. So, hey MD Jesus, I was considering getting a 7900 XTX over a 9070 XT. Should I wait for the 99 XTX, hopefully, or should I go straight forward and buy the 7900 XTX? By the way, I really love your content. Love you from Italy. Thank you very much. Fairby3Q or 3K. Yeah, 3K. I would say that's a tough question, because if you really care about FSR 4, I can almost certainly say that FSR 4 will come to the 7900 XTX. But the 9070 XT will have more and more features, and in some games the 9070 XT is very powerful, really close to the 7900 XTX, in some games even faster. So I see no point for you getting right now the 7900 XTX, and the 9070 XT will get even newer and better features in the future. So buying the XTX is kind of risky as of now. As for the top tier card that will most likely come, I don't really have anything on that, so I don't know if it will happen or not. So yeah, sorry about that. Oh, my bad. So another question, let's see. Imagine if you keep spamming and so on, yeah. Okay, let me see more. Let me see what we have here. Oh, that's a fly. Not mocking goddess, god, but love goddess, god. Okay. So Redstone will replace FSR 4 in adrenaline setting. Guys, again, FSR 4 will be a part of FSR Redstone. It's not a setting that you just go and turn in. Or turn in. It looks like you're going to the police. It's not just a setting that you go and turn on. I'm like 100% sure of that. It will need game implementation, okay? FSR 4 will most likely get improved with FSR Redstone, most likely. Machine learning frame generation might get a toggle as well, and I believe it will. So FSR 4 frame generation and FSR 4 upscaling will have a toggle, most likely, or just one toggle. Doesn't really need two toggles, just one toggle, but that's about it. The other things like neural radiance caching and oh my bad, sorry, and the other features will have to be implemented. So yeah. What do you think about it's CK? What do you think about upgrading to the 5090 from the 7900 XTX? Well, in some games the difference is big. I would say like 50%. It will draw more power, a bit more, or maybe in some situations around the same. It is way more expensive, but in terms of performance, well, the only thing that I can say it's that the performance is there. The performance is there for sure. So yeah. And Game Sakak here says, I'm watching your 5700 XT videos. I'm trying to optimize it as much as I can. Thank you, and you do well, I guess. Damn, Fabio looking nice. Well, thank you very much. Maybe it's the new camera, the new webcam, not the camera. Yeah, I just let the window open for like some hours, and there's a lot of flies and mosquitoes here. Yeah, I fucking hate these mosquitoes. But yeah. How you holding up, buddy? The official Kryptonian. I'm fine. I would say I'm fine. By the way, do you guys... Let me just see the task manager. So I'm streaming and I'm using 4K 30 with this AI webcam, which actually uses a lot of power. And still we're getting, with a 5060 Ti, which is not that powerful, we're getting 30% CPU usage and 15%. Yeah, I would say. Let me just try and run Titan Quest. I'm gonna see how it runs, how it goes. Let's hope developers stop using FSR 3 and start implementing FSR Redstone and 4. Yeah, I hope so, but AMD still doesn't really have a kit for FSR 4, and that's one of the reasons they are not implementing, developers are not implementing FSR 4, because there's no development kit, SDK kit, yeah, already, so they are only kind of developing for FSR 3.1 and then to upgrade to FSR 4. I don't really know if that will change or not. It is what it is, I guess. I'm excited for AM6 dual cache chips. AM6, or you mean Zen 6? Because AM6 will take a long time. I believe that AM6 will be here in like 4 years. Believe me. We'll have like Zen 6 and maybe Zen 7 on AM5 as well. Let me just see how things go here. I'm just hoping Cyberpunk 2077 will implement FSR Redstone. Yeah, I hope the same. I hope the same. I don't really know if that will happen, but I really hope the same. Believer X, thank you, King. I hope that it will be in all games, especially FSR 4. Yeah, me too. Will the PS6 really be on the level of the 5080? That is a pretty huge, but would fall in line with the standard mod, doubling the console rasterization after 7 years. Yeah, maybe, maybe not. I can't really say. I'm gonna be honest. I can't really say. It is more or less in line, but it is a big jump. It is definitely a big jump, performance-wise. So I don't really know if that will happen here. So 2 times with frame generation, transformer model on, apply. Let's see what we get. We should be getting more FPS now. And we don't really need epic settings. High settings will do, with the texture set to epic. Oh, even this way we only get 74 FPS. That's crazy. Camera is lagging because the game was loading. That's why. I believe it's better now. Do you think the next high-end AMD cards will come next year? Probably by the end of 2026, yeah. That's eating the CPU. Titan's eating the CPU, yeah. So finally trying out an Nvidia card. Got me a 5070 and it's not bad for $549. And I like Titan Quest 2 so far. Yeah, Titan Quest 2 so far is looking good. It brings nothing really new per se, but it is decent, I would say. Yeah, I would say it is decent, definitely. As for the transformer model and so on, we're not getting many FPS because again, we're streaming and at the same time my card is not that powerful and the camera is going 4K. If I went like 1080p 30, which is more than enough, it wouldn't really eat that much power. So since we're using 4K, I guess, yeah, performance is fine. Let's go like to 3 times and see what we get. I mean, we have 16 gigabytes. and even that way it's only, we have lots of artifacts and it's only 100 FPS, but I guess it is what it is. I can't really complain. It's a 5060 and it's 4K, so yeah, I guess I can't really complain. Let me see. I know you test a lot of games. What's your thoughts of Clair Obscure not having any form of FSR implemented into the game? As for the implementation of Expedition 33 FSR, they said they are working on it. Actually, they said on the developer notes that they were working on it. I don't really know if it's going to work well or not. Don't really ask me. I don't really know. But yeah, they said they were working on it, and that's enough. It would be fine if they were like going to FSR 4 immediately, and I believe they will be implementing FSR 3.1, I guess. Now I went to ultra performance, 720p to 4K. Man, even with frame generation, this works quite bad. Let me just show you one thing. I can go off with the frame generation. So with the frame generation, I have 54, 55 FPS, and sorry about the questions, but one of the things that you might not know, because lots of people don't know, is that that Nvidia's frame generation kind of depends on your GPU. While the AMD frame generation, in almost every scenario, will give you around 80 to 90% of the performance that you're having right now. With Nvidia, that isn't really the case. The lower tier cards will have a lower performance boost or a lower smoothness boost from some frame generation, while of course the newer cards or the better cards will have a higher boost. Let's say that, for example, cards as low as a 5060 Ti will have like 50% increase in performance or 50% increase in smoothness, while cards like the 5080 will have like 70-80% increased smoothness. And it also depends on the game. That's one of the things that I don't like about AMD, about the LSS frame generation, sorry. As for the AMD's frame generation, it is quite better in that regard. Even older cards or slower cards will have a way bigger smoothness increase compared to the Nvidia side. But yeah, MPO off on the RX 9000 cards, well, I don't really know. I don't really disable MPO for years. Yeah, this is not the LSS quality, it is the LSS performance. And the LSS performance, we're getting 48 FPS. But now, again, remember, please remember that we are live streaming at the same time that we're using the camera at 4K 30. If I just shut down the camera, the performance will go much better. For example, if I go here, I believe that I can do this on the fly. Let me just see if I can. So if I go like 1080p 30, so let's see, the CPU performance, well, we're having around what, 51, 52, and the CPU load is like 48, 45, 46, 48, okay. And if we go to 4K 30, yeah, the CPU load is definitely higher, but the performance doesn't really, it kind of drops like 3 FPS, so it's not that much. So let's see a bit of more of questions, I guess. So currently got a 6600 XT and an i5 13600K. Do you think it's okay for a 9070 XT to go? Yeah, the 13600K will be quite fine. I mean, it won't really be impressive, it won't be great, but it is definitely fine. I would say it is definitely fine, yeah. Definitely. So let me just go now back to frame generation 2 times. Yeah, it will be fine, I would say. So as you saw, we went from like 53 to 70, which is not that much, like 50% tops. So Legion says, hi Fabio, do you think it would be good for AMD to make a transformation like Nvidia's into an AMD app that would run faster and have more software improvements? I mean, the Adrenaline is already a better app. Like, it's better, easier to use, generally, yeah, better than the Nvidia app in several scenarios. So there's no need to mess with the team that's winning. I just watched your video about the RTX 5070 and 9070. I think I should get the 5070. Yeah, the 9070 is generally faster, but the 5070, well, usually is cheaper. What I don't really like about the 5070 is that it only has like 12 gigabytes VRAM, and I don't think that it should go that route. Especially for things like frame generation and so on. It will be limiting in some scenarios, I can tell you. For example, if you're trying frame generation in some games, frame generation alongside ray tracing, even with 12 gigabytes VRAM, you'll have bandwidth starvation and it will look like crap. Believe me, the performance will tank, it will look like crap. You don't really want that, believe me. So yeah. So we have more questions by Believer again. Any advice for reducing shader cache loading time in games? Yeah, get a better CPU and a better disk. That's what you can do. Opinions on ray regeneration being moddable in games via OptiScaler. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. The same way that ray reconstruction isn't getting moddable, because it is not a thing that you can just go and put into a game. You need the developers to implement it in the game engine, inside the game engine, yeah. Fionor Nolder says, question Fabio, is that a fix for Adrenaline software not loading the tuning profile sometimes when you turn on your PC? Now, I can tell you right away from experience that when the profile doesn't load from the my brain is malfunctioning. When the profile is not loading at the beginning, when you're going into Windows, when you're booting the computer, the profile is not there and it says that the settings were kind of put to default. That means that you're overclocking. By experience again, that's by experience and my experience, that your overclocking settings aren't 100% stable. Just letting you know. So yeah. I'm not used to play this game with a keyboard and mouse, so yeah, that's why I'm playing so bad. Let me just see more. Hi Fabio, did you get all the bonus items in BF6? I completed all the challenges and got all the drops on Twitch. Last chance until tomorrow. Oh, it's last chance until tomorrow. I played a bit, but not really that much. I played a bit of the game and I actually enjoyed it. Just got the Ryzen 5 7600 XT, Ryzen 5 7600X, and have a 4060 8GB. What GPU you think it's better for that CPU? For the 7600X, well, that depends on the FPS that you want, on the resolution that you're playing. It kind of depends on a lot of things. Now I'm playing with a controller much better. That depends on a lot of things actually. So really on a lot of things. If you are going to play at 1440p, usually I would say that you're going to be fine. Well, now it's just you, but you're going to be fine, mostly. I would say that, definitely. But if you're going for other things like 144 Hz and so on, doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter the resolution. If you're aiming higher, the 7600 won't be. But I would say that something like if you're going for the new generation, I would say up to the 9070 you're going to be quite fine. So yeah. Let me see. So the benefit of having the game running on both chips would be negligible or can reduce performance. Most games don't really use more than 8 cores. With Zen 6, AMD most likely are going to do 12 core CCDs. Yes, 12 core CCDs. Yeah, almost certain of that. That's going to happen. Chivi says, I got my GPU RX 9070 from Central Computers, shipped now. They seem to have a newer model, cheaper. Well, yeah, that can happen. That happens. Life sucks. Do you think the 13900K will bottleneck the 5080? Definitely. It will definitely bottleneck the 5080. Kind of depends on the game, though, and the amount of FPS that you want. Will it suffice for most titles? Most likely. Will it suffice for the FPS numbers that you want? That's a different question. But yeah, generally it will be fine, I would say. I was getting 120 FPS with my R7 5700X 9070 XT that I turned on PVO, and I started getting 170. Was my CPU sleeping? No, your CPU was just working normally. and when you enable PVO on CPUs from the 5000 series, they will kind of boost higher with more power envelope, with a higher power envelope. So what will happen is that it will consume more power, but it will boost to higher clocks across all the cores, and that's what makes the performance be better, especially in games like Battlefield 6 that use a lot of CPU. So yeah. So let me just alt F4. Hi Fabio, do you think AMD will ever fix the Xnavi stuttering issues for older games and implement a new way for driver to interact with the X11 and the X9? Well, all I can say is that generally, speaking about the RDNA4 cards, RDNA4 is just much smoother overall. Being the X12, the X11, RDNA4 is just much smoother. I know because I tested it. And from the games that I tested before with the X11, they were all smooth on my systems with the AMD cards. I don't really know what you guys keep complaining about. Maybe there are some specific models of cards. But as you know, I tested 40 games and I test 40 games in a lot of GPUs. And there are maybe 1 or 2 titles where the issues really happen or really happened before. Usually that's not an issue, I would say. Krish, which was the second to come in the stream, thank you by the way, says, yup, let's hope it gets better over time, and it will, of course. Boa noite, Lucas. Good night. Would the i5 13600K bottleneck the 9070 XT? Yes. Bunny Monster, it will definitely bottleneck. But again, it can bottleneck and still not be bad. It can still suffice for what you need and still bottleneck. I mean, even the 9800X 3D bottlenecks the 9070 XT in certain situations. Not all, not many, but it can bottleneck. Does that mean that the 9800 XT is a bad CPU? Does it mean that the 9800 XT won't suffice most people? Of course not. And the same happens with the 13600K. It kind of depends on what you want, to be honest. Let's see if Battlefield Beta is still opened. I don't really know if I have the secure boot enabled. So, more questions. Oh, my bad. Ghostbuster is asking me why am I not sleeping? Well, I can ask the same. Why are you not sleeping? When are the new AMD CPUs coming? I don't really know, but I guess the end of the year. Maybe the end of the next year. Because I do think that there will be a Zen 5 refresh, and maybe that comes by the end of this year, 2025. Zen 6 will most likely come later, way later. So yeah. Yeah, FSR 4 is not, yes, secure boot is not enabled. FSR 4 is not, and now as you can see, 36, 27%. Yeah, we use a lot of CPU power here. 9080 isn't coming. Yeah, I was talking about CPUs, not GPUs, but I believe there is something coming on the RDNA4 side. I suspect it will be something possibly something like the 9070 XTX. I would like that, a 9070 XT, but with, let's say, 32 gigabytes of VRAM and GDDR7 instead of GDDR6. That would allow for much higher bandwidth, that in some scenarios, in some specific scenarios, would deliver considerably better performance, because in some scenarios, the 9070 XT is extremely bandwidth starved, so going for GDDR7 with 32 gigabytes would be very, very nice. For both people that are using the card for productivity and for gamers that in some scenarios would get a better card. So yeah, I believe that would put the 9070 XT on the 5080 level, or in some cases a bit higher, depending on the game, of course. As for Neos, he says, "Hi Fabio, I just built an all AMD build Ryzen 7800X 3D, 7900 XT, pretty nice. I haven't noticed any bottlenecks, even though I know no matter what you do, there will always be a bottleneck." Exactly. There will always be a bottleneck. So let's not worry about that unless the bottleneck is huge. Okay, thanks a lot. So here in Morocco, the RTX 5070 is $800, damn. And the 9070 is 943. Well, percentage-wise, the difference is not big, but I mean, it's 100 bucks. Why isn't the 9080 coming? Because it isn't. AMD has been stating that for years. RDNA5 won't really have a high-end GPU. Well, for the time being, it doesn't really make sense for AMD. They are focusing on the next generation, and if they made a higher tier GPU, they will have to spend a lot more money, a lot more time on those GPUs, another SKU, and so on, so on, so on. By just releasing these cards, they can spend that money that they would use there, they can spend that money and that time on the next generation and kind of make it better. And I believe that's what they're aiming for. Legion asks, Fabio, how long does it take for your hair to grow? My nephew has been doing it for a year and it only has grown. Yeah, because he might be bald, I don't really know. As for the hair to grow, it was like 3 years. 3 years from the short hair to the long one. And from time to time, of course, I cut it a bit. Alice Turner says, hello Fabio, finally got a chance to see your live stream. Welcome, my friend. So if you guys have any more questions, and by the way, if you guys want me to do something, I'm just here answering questions because I don't really know what to do. Live streaming is not really my thing, but if you want me to watch something, I don't really know. If you want me to comment on the prices, I just send it to me. Just let me know, I guess. Sorry, Siroi says, sorry for the spam, Fabio. Lossless scaling frame generation have less latency when the FPS is at least 60 and locked compared to uncapped. Yes, the higher the base frames, the lower the latency will be with every frame generation technique. That's just how it works. So yeah, and locked, of course, it's working better because it doesn't really have to work with lots of inconsistencies. It just knows that it is running at 60 to 120 or 60 to 180, whatever. Yeah, it is what it is. Hey Fabio, do you think we might get something like FSR 4 when Redstone comes out? FSR 4.1, yes, most likely. FSR 4.1, I believe so. Yujiro Anma, yeah, Baki, you see Baki, says, hi there. Let me just go up. During your testing of Cyberpunk 2077, do you have crashes on path tracing? Very common problem on Reddit and me too. Is there a chance they fix it? Yes, they will most likely fix it. I mean, I don't really test for so long with path tracing, so I don't really know. Yeah, I don't really know if it crashes or not. So yeah. Any games you're looking forward to? Yes, I'm looking forward to Titan Quest to actually get released. And there are some games that I'm looking forward to. I usually look at the games like on Allkey Shop. I'm looking at that game like Phantom Blade or something. I really want to play it. I'm currently playing Mafia and I'm playing Wuchang as well. I'm playing both at the same time when I get some time. But yeah. Oh, Helizuz is back with a demo. So let me see what's going or recently released. Gradius, Abyssus, Echoes of the End. Then, Metal Gear Solid seems to be good. I guess I would play this one. GTA 6, of course. Battlefield 6, I'm not really much into Battlefield games, but I actually enjoyed Battlefield 6. It was cool. It was a cool experience. Sorry, let me see more. Dying Light the Beast. Lost Soul Aside. It seems kind of clunky when playing, so I don't really like clunky games. Let me see more. Nightmares. But yeah, that one, the Phantom Blade one, I actually want to play it. Ninja Gaiden 4, maybe. Ninja Gaiden 4, yeah. Resident Evil Requiem. I love Resident Evil games. So yeah, Resident Evil Requiem, I'm gonna play this one for sure. And I already have so many games to play. I mean, if I go to Steam, I have lots of games. Let me just see some more questions. Let me go down. So many games coming next month. Yeah. Battlefield 6 is great. I've been playing a lot this beta. Yes, Marcel, definitely. Definitely. Now, Neos asks, Fabio, do you think AMD next gen will make a 4090 GPU? Yeah, it will most likely make a 4090 GPU. I don't really need to see the rest. Well, now I believe this is 10 reais. Thank you very much. Irland Jones BS says, I kind of sprayed contact cleaner all over my PC, including my GPU, a 9060 XT Hellhound. I didn't even remove the card, just sprayed it into the gaps and all the exposed parts like a maniac. Did it mess it up? I don't really know, man. I can't say for sure, but I don't think that's a great thing to do. But well, I hope you don't really have issues there. But yeah, I mean, why? Why? Why would you do that? Contact cleaner. Are you really serious? Sorry, I'm laughing. That's not a reason to laugh, but I hope you don't really have issues there. Really. Stardom Plays says, how fast do you speculate IPC gain of Zen 6 to be over Zen 5, and how much do you think it will translate into gaming gains? Well, depends on the architecture as well. IPC is not just the only thing that matters. There are lots of things that matters. So yeah, it's hard to know, but I would say Zen 6 over Zen 5, IPC wise, like 15-20% most likely. Onyx XZ actually asks, do you know why game profiles reset each time we shut down the PC? Game profiles or the overclocking profiles? If those are overclocking profiles, yeah, your overclocking profile might not be entirely stable. Believe me. Now, as for the games, we were talking about the games. The Alters was one of the games that I liked the most. To me, it was kind of short. I would like that the game would, well, last a bit longer. I will most likely replay it to see some of the ones that I haven't seen. Some of the Alters that I haven't seen. I believe that I haven't seen this one. And this one either. And this one either. So there are actually 3 Alters that I haven't seen. And I need to see what I can get there. I liked Banishers. Ghost of New Eden was a nice game. I like story-driven games, so yeah. Call of Duty, I just used to test. Counter-Strike 2, it's the same. I've played quite a lot in the past, but not now. I already finished Doom the Dark Ages. Was actually a nice fun play as well. God of War Ragnarok, I finished it too. Hogwarts Legacy, still didn't finish it. I have like 12 hours on it. Then we have Homeworld just for benchmarking. Kingdom Come Deliverance, I will most likely play it when the time comes, I guess. The Last of Us the same, I'm saving it. I'm trying to play like Mafia first, finish Wu Chang, and then I will go into The Last of Us Part 2. Mafia, like I told you. Marvel Spider-Man, already finished it. Flight Simulator, only for testing. Plague Tale Requiem, love the game, of course. Robocop, another game that I'm trying to start in order to finish because I really like the physics and so on. Is the Alters worth playing? Yes. I really like the Alters. Really. Yes. Just, it's a very nice play. If you like story-driven games alongside strategy, you actually need to go to the terrain. You need to collect things. You need to collect resources. But at the same time, you need to deal with the Alters, and you can actually improve your base, construct more facilities. It's really nice. As for Hellblade, I also finished it. Same for Silent Hill 2. Stalker, I will finish it later. Starfield, I finished the main story, the main path, but I know that there are many others, and I'm actually going on the DLC now. Titan Quest, I finished what there is to finish. Titan Quest was one of my favorite games, so as soon as I knew that Titan Quest 2 was dropping, I immediately downloaded it, and yeah, it is what it is. So more questions. Robocop was an odd game. You walk around so slowly. I mean, yeah, you are Robocop. Of course you're slow. You're made of metal. Do you play VR games? Not really. Do you think Microsoft Flight Simulator will get FSR4 support soon? Maybe. Hope so. To be honest, hope so. What should I take here in Morocco? Again, that's up to you. The 9070 is generally a better card and has more VRAM, but it costs a bit more, so it's up to you, mate. What improvements do you want to see from the next FSR version? I want to see better stability in terms of the motion blur. So the same that the Transformer model and FSR4 are already doing. I want to get rid of it even more, make the games clearer. Oh, my bad again. Make the games even clearer, and on top of that, just improve the stability, the general stability. For me, it would be a great thing. As for Space Marine 2, yeah, I'm again doing the same. Space Marine 2, playing later. Old school games, Castlevania Lords of Shadows 2. I really hope that they revive Castlevania. This was such a great game. Just bring Lords of Shadow 3. This was an amazing game. With Alucard, I mean, just great. How to debloat AMD drivers? You don't really need to debloat AMD drivers. You don't really have bloat on AMD drivers. You have lots of features and they allow you to disable everything, so it's not bloat. As for Legacy of Kain Soul River 1 and 2 Remastered, I'm going to play it again. Played Legacy of Kain Defiance several times. The Medium already and also like the game. Rise, Son of Rome, the same. Sleeping Dogs, an underrated gem. Very nice game as well. Do you have any issues with the latest AMD drivers? Well, I've been using them with Mafia and so on, and so far so good for me. Can't really complain. The Ascent is also a nice game. Atomic Heart, I also play the game, even though it was kind of boring near the end, I have to say. The Callisto Protocol, also play the game. Not bad, actually not bad. Expedition 33, just awesome. An awesome experience. Can't tell you anything more. Just an awesome experience. These hours are basically one playthrough, but I explored everything there was to explore. Basically everything. Then we have other games like Deliver Us Mars, another game that I'm waiting to play when I have the time. Oblivion, the same. Well, I don't really have time to play all these games, so it is what it is, I guess. By the way, don't forget, hit like on the live stream. That helps the channel a lot. The Berserker Kazan, the first Berserker Kazan, also play this game to the end, and it's quite nice. Quite nice. More. Dragon's Dogma, basically just bought it to test. DMC Devil May Cry, not bad. Not bad. And we have more like Helldivers 2, Horizon series, Last Epoch. I also like Last Epoch. And now we have a new season. Maybe we'll have more story from the last time that I played. I need to see if we do or not. Lies of P already have to... I kind of already have it on list in order to play it because it now has a DLC, it got updated and so on. It has FSR4. So yeah, I have lots of games here. And by the way, Mafia the Old Country, that will be on the latest benchmarks, was also a key that I got from AMD. They were actually quite nice and gave me the key for the game. And there were some games that they gave me the keys. I don't really remember which, but they did. For example, Nvidia gave me the key for this game for PAX Day, but I don't really play it. I don't really like it. And I had some more keys from AMD and Nvidia. Not many, but I did have some. Split Fiction. If you have a mate or a girlfriend or whomever you want, just play this game. This game is just crazy. I was hooked with my girlfriend while we were playing both, and she isn't really much of a gamer, but she really enjoyed the experience. It was really fun, and I really enjoyed it as well. Very good game. Very nice animations, kind of a cliche story, but the gameplay is so good. The gameplay is so good. Very nice, really. And yeah, so do you guys have any more questions? Just let me know, and we'll end the live stream soon, I guess. Very close to 100% Expedition 33, yeah. Huge game. Paul Newman asks, do you think the upcoming 5080 Super will be a good upgrade coming from the 9070 XT? No. No. The 5080 Super won't be that much faster than the 5080, especially if you are overclocking your 5080. If you're running it stock, the 5080 Super might be a bit better, but if you overclock your 5080, the 5080 Super won't be much faster. Especially since it isn't really bandwidth starved, it doesn't really need more VRAM for gaming, so yeah, I don't think so. Just go to the 5090 if you really want an upgrade. Now we have more, so okay, my bad. So Logojan Gruya asks, hi Fabio, nice to see you. What keyboards are you using? Well, I'm not a huge nerd in terms of keyboards, but I have this one. This is a really basic keyboard from Mars Gaming, one of those first keyboards that were using optical switches, and this is one of those. I've been using it for years and it's still running very, very fine. As for others, I have on that computer that I'm currently testing with a 7900X 3D running 6400 megahertz RAM, and it's running flawlessly. I ran Battlefield on that build and it's running flawlessly. Really, 6400 megahertz on the 7900X 3D, running like a champion. And I'm using the Ajaz AK820 Pro, the one from one of the last ads that I made, and it's running very nice, and I actually like the keyboard. My main keyboard is one that was from Roccat. When I bought it, it was from Roccat. Then Turtle Beach actually bought Roccat. I don't really know, but it is kind of one of those top keyboards. I really like the keys on that keyboard, kind of Roccat keyboard. Dual LED. If I search for dual, yeah, it's this one, the Vulcan 2 Max. Yeah, Roccat Vulcan 2 Max. It is this one. Now it's again Turtle Beach. This one that I have with dual LEDs for several situations. Yeah, the quality is quite low here. But yeah, this is the one I have. As you can see, optical switches, and of course working with dual LEDs and so on. I really like the keyboard. I didn't pay that much for it. I guess it got kind of inflated when Turtle Beach bought Roccat, but I paid less for it. Even my symbol, it's still from Roccat, and now we have the Turtle Beach symbol. I believe that I paid like 200 euros, something like that. So yeah, let me just go a bit below. But yeah, that's it. Then I have another one that I like a lot, which is the Monsgeek M1 V3. Another one from a sponsor from AliExpress. This one. The keyboard is really heavy. It's really high quality, really heavy. You don't really have any vibration sounds. The gasket is really good, and the sounds and the feelings of the keys are also nice. So this is it with only the gasket. Of course, you then have you can get the keys, of course. My version came with the keys already, and we have several effects in terms of software and so on. But I really like the keyboard. It is massive. It feels great. Performs great. And the other one that I have, I'm actually thinking, yeah, I believe it's a, yeah, Keychron. I actually will have, yeah, I will have more things on an ad from Keychron next week. Yeah, this one, the Q6 Max. This is the one that I have. They wanted to send me kind of, it was like this one, the Q3, but I wanted the Q6. I really like keyboards with a numpad, so yeah. And sorry I'm just kind of answering these things. So let's see more questions. So, is there a bottleneck on the 1440p? I mean, at 1440p with a GRE and a 5700X 3D. In most games, you won't really have the bottleneck because, again, it's not about the resolution. It's about the frame output. But yeah, in most games you'll be fine at 1440p, definitely. Yeah, this is also nice. By the way, the Q6 Max, the Keychron, is also very, very heavy. It's very sturdy, very heavy, and the gasket isolation is very nice. You don't really see that vibration, that resonance sound. Again, it's not really happening. It's very, very good. Now, ancient gameplays. Is Ryzen 5600X and the RTX 3070 Ti good for? Yeah, the 5600X will bottleneck a bit, but it'll most likely be fine. Until 100 likes, support the channel, hit thumbs. I don't even know how many likes are there. I can only see 1 like because I'm not refreshing the page. Now we have Papu saying, sorry if you answer this, and by the way, thank you very much for supporting the channel. Sorry if you answer this, just got here a while back. You said you might have a chance to speak with the heads of Raiden Software. Yes, I said that in the beginning of the video. It was kind of postponed, I guess, because we now have Gamescom and all those events, so people are quite busy, but it will happen. According to AMD and my contacts at AMD, it will happen. And I'll kind of have an interview, kind of a podcast, I would say, like Tom from Moore's Law is Dead when I go there and something like that. So it's kind of an interview with the head of the Raiden Software, or should be, at the beginning it was, the head of the Raiden Software team and the head of the FSR4 development team, or in this case FSR Redstone. So they now have 2 teams. They have just 1 team working for FSR development and another team for the Raiden Software. That's how it works. That's how I'm told it works. You got 122 likes. Currently, Ben is probably a bot. Howl, hello Fabio, hello. LoopSam says, Fabio, when's FSR4 coming to my RX 7900 XT? Most likely when Redstone comes to the 9070 XT and so on. Yeah, so do you guys have any more questions? I guess I'll end the live stream in like 10 minutes, so make your questions here, deliver your questions. If you want to donate, by the way, to help the channel, you can. Also, yeah, just let me show you one thing. Can go to Google Drive. I have the benchmarks here. I believe it will be fine. So these are from the benchmarks that I just ended, like I would say like well 1 hour ago, maybe 1 hour ago. And these are benchmarks that I made currently for my I'm so tired, sorry guys. From my video that's going to be released, let's say in like 2 days or something like that, which is 9070 XT and 5080, basically Linux versus Windows on the newer cards from AMD and Nvidia. Again, RX 5080, RTX 5080, and RX 9070 XT. And as you can see, we have several games being tested, 17 benchmarks, and we are testing also F-Sync for Noctua 42 F-Sync and Anti-Sync, which is supposed to be the newest or the best Linux weapon versus Windows. So I tested, for example, if we go to Banishers, you can see that we have Banishers 1080p F-Sync, 1080p Anti-Sync, 1440p ultra-wide F-Sync, 1440p ultra-wide Anti-Sync, and then we have the Windows 11 results. Oh, and by the way, I guess I need to recharge the computer, the laptop, my bad. Oh, Ben, thank you very much. You donated 20 euros. That's crazy, mate. Oh, let me just see what I can get here. That's just crazy. Let me just recharge the laptop. I'm recharging the laptop with the monitor. So yeah. Let me see what we get. What are your thoughts on the rumored Super Series? Yeah, they're just super series. Basically, there are some cards that will be better, some cards that won't really be worth it. It kind of depends on the price, I guess. Some cards like the 5070 Super will be the cards that will be worth the most, since the 5070 only has 12 gigabytes, and that's kind of a bummer, and that's why the other ones will be bigger. So Ben, do you want to ask some questions? Because I mean, you just donated 20 euros, so do a question, man. Just let me answer. Loopsam says, Fabio, come to the USA, we need AMD Jesus here. Yeah, I'm fine in Portugal. I could go like one time vacation, I guess. But yeah, that's it. I like to live in Portugal. Fabio, does XeSS frame generation work with the LSS upscaling? Well, I don't really know. I know that it works with FSR upscaling, and it kind of depends on the game, so I can't really say. Will FSR 2.1 or 3.1 ever come to driver level? No, because of how it works. It just can't go. Spatial upscaling and temporal upscaling. So spatial upscaling is what RSR uses, which is the FSR1 algorithm. So again, I have to raise my hand. They are entirely different things. Believe me, it's not even close. So temporal upscaling has access to motion vectors inside the game and so on in order to deliver better quality. And if they access actually the game engine outside of the game engine, you can't access those vectors. So I mean, it's not the same. It will never be the same quality wise. So yeah. Krish, Fabio, what do you think? How will the 9800X30 age, considering Vcache tech? Example, the 5800X30 still begin mostly being, I guess that's what you want to say, being mostly relevant, whatever. Mostly architecture improvements in CPU. But can it be future-proof for the next 7-10 years? Well, I can tell you right away that nobody's using a CPU for 7-10 years. Not nowadays. If you're at least serious in what you're doing in terms of gaming, or if you have more money, you won't be using a CPU for those years. Tops like 5 years. Tops. Not 7-10. Tops 5 years. So Paul Newman asks, do you recommend we keep rebar enabled or disabled? Enabled always. It's not even a question. Enabled, period. It's done. Unless you have a very specific issue where rebar can't be enabled for several reasons like stuttering, always enabled. And by the way, that's one of the questions that I already made to AMD. Like, I told and I asked AMD to make a profile where kind of what do we have with Profile Inspector, but something for AMD. And I just wished that they made something, or that they made you be able to enable or disable the Smart Access Memory profile per game, because there are some situations where disabling Smart Access Memory might actually, well, get rid of the stutters in some cards, some very specific cards. And that's great because you could just disable the profile for one game and that game would run flawlessly, but it would still be working for all the other games where we get performance upgrades when using Smart Access Memory. But yeah, they didn't really care much, it seems. Rebar uses more GPU memory. Yes, it uses more GPU memory, but at the same time, it is much faster. Like, I'm not joking, much faster. It gives a huge performance increase in some scenarios, in some games, because it doesn't really need to just do several transactions of 128 megabytes or 256, I don't really remember. It can just move a big chunk of, let's say, 2 gigabytes from one side to another without having to make several ones of 256 or 128. Alex Smith asks, Fabio, do you know what's the deal with the X3D versions of AMD CPUs? Everyone recommends 9800X3D, but it only has 8 cores. In CPU comparison videos, the non-X3D variants perform the same at 1440p. Well, it's not that they perform the same. It's not that they perform the same. They perform the same because they're GPU bottlenecked. Let's put it this way. Imagine that you're driving in a road. You have a Ferrari. A Ferrari can just do like 400 kilometers. Well, not that, but the Bugatti can. The Bugatti Veyron can do like 400 kilometers. But you have a car in front of you, and you can't really go by it. So a car in front of you is going like 200 kilometers. So your Bugatti will only run at 200 kilometers. Even though it can run 400, it will be running at 200 kilometers because you have a car in front of you. And there's only one way. So basically that's how a bottleneck runs, or how you say it's running the same. It's not really running the same. It's running the same because let's say that in that case scenario, your 9070, let me explain in a better way. Another analogy. Let's say that you have let me see what you were talking about. Let's say, yeah, the non-X3D variants. Let's say that you're running a 9700 XT. 97. Again, I'm tired. A 9700X. You're running a 9700X, and your 9700X is able to produce 180 FPS. Your 9800X3D is able to produce or deliver 300 FPS. But if your GPU is only able to deliver 120, both CPUs will deliver 120, because if they can deliver above 120, it means that in a situation where they only need to deliver 120, they will deliver those 120. Now, if you have a stronger GPU, or if you use, let's say, the LSS performance or FSR, whatever, if you use upscalers, it means that the render resolution will be lower. So if the render resolution will be lower, your GPU will be able to push more FPS. If your GPU is able to push, let's say, 200 FPS, well, the 9700X will be limited to those, let's say, 140 FPS, while the 9800X 3D will be able to push those 200 FPS because it can push 300. And if it can push 300, if the GPU goes up to 200, it can push 200. If your GPU goes up to 250, it will deliver 250, while the 9700X won't do more than that. So the resolution per se doesn't really matter. What matters is the amount of frames that a CPU can output. And if the CPU can output 100 frames in that game, it will output 100 frames at 1080p, 1440p, or 4K. More or less, like 2 or 3 difference, of course, 2 or 3% usually, but it is what it is. The resolution doesn't really matter. And if your GPU only does, let's say, 80 FPS, of course that even putting a slower CPU will deliver the same results because it's a GPU bottleneck. That's basically how it works. Yeah, Papu actually says, that is not real world performance, you only tested the CPU at 1080p. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. The resolution, again, doesn't really matter. It's the FPS output that does. Have we talked about FSR Redstone yet? Yeah, we talked a bit, but if you have more questions. Your 911 in background could take over those guys. Yeah, I actually wanted one of these. It would be nice. I sadly don't have money for these. I just have money to go buy. I'm not rich. Okay. Crisis, Rainbow Six Vegas 2. Think we'll get FSR Redstone on RDNA5? Nope. I'm pretty sure that it won't. FSR 4 will most likely come to the 7000 series, but Redstone will be 9000 series onwards. So more questions. Virtual Pixels actually asks, Fabio, do you think that AMD will improve the encoders for creators and streamers? They already did. I don't really know if you guys missed it. You most likely did. It happens, YouTube's algorithm, searching, whatever. But they already did. I mean, compared to RDNA3, the encoders and decoders are already much better. So just watch this video. It is finally good on AMD cards. RDNA3 versus RDNA4, H.264 and AV1 codec comparison. It is there. It is showing you everything that you need to watch. It's basically a side-by-side comparison, and you can see that, just watch this video. You can see I'm testing in several case scenarios, H.264 versus AV1 as well, and the 7900 XTX versus the 9070, for example. H.264, as you can see, 8 Mbps, then 2 Mbps, then, yeah, several case scenarios. Yeah, I believe, for example, we start with 2 Mbps, and then I kind of stop side by side for you to see the differences. For example, this window is barely noticeable. We have no lining whatsoever, while here with the 9070, even with 2 Mbps and H.264, we get better lining. We have much more detail. So yeah, they improved the codecs already by a lot. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I have lots of videos that you most likely missed, and believe me, they are worth watching. They are worth watching. Why don't developers implement FSR 3.1 in all games that are recently released? I believe they do. They just don't implement FSR 4 because there is no FSR 4 development kit, I believe. Guys, 10 minutes more. Let's see the questions that you have. Fabio not using YouTube Premium? Yeah, I don't. Even though it is actually a good product, but I don't. The problem for AMD is that FSR 4 is being pushed out in games so slow, not a lot of support unless as you use the whitelist mod or OptiScaler. Well, you have currently almost 80 games. From March, the release, from March till now, you have almost 80 games, yes, 79 games as of now, I believe. So that's not little. The adoption is not that bad, actually. Not that bad. But yeah, AMD, at every driver version, AMD is like doing like 7-8 games. When they take a bit more, they do like 10-12 games. It's not that bad, but it could be better, definitely. Now, Papu asks, is it viable to test the CPU lower than 1080p? Wouldn't... No, your question is actually nice. So, wouldn't running a 7900 XTX at 540p lower the GPU bottleneck, or it doesn't scale like that? Doesn't really matter. The thing is, like I told you, it is all about FPS output, unless you're going for super high resolutions that need a lot of bandwidth. But usually, in between, let's say 1080p at up to 4K or even 720p, it is all about the FPS output. If the CPU is able to deliver 100 FPS, it is able to deliver 100 FPS. It will deliver 100 FPS at 540p, at 720p, at 1080p, at 1440p, at 1440p ultra wide, at 4K. It will deliver those same 100 FPS as long as it is not GPU bottlenecked. So if it is GPU bottlenecked, it will deliver way less FPS, of course, because it will deliver the FPS that the GPU can deliver. Otherwise, it will deliver a maximum of 100 FPS. That's how it works. DLSS, there are 830 plus games supported. Yeah, there are 830 plus games supported, but not with DLSS 4, Dumbo. Not with DLSS 4. And even with the DLSS 4, there are newer games coming with the DLSS 4, and that's great. But the older games, most of them are not getting updated. You need to go and do the same thing that you do with FSR 4. You just need to go to the Nvme app and kind of go and choose the latest version. And even there, you don't really have it for all games. Nvidia still needs to whitelist those games as well. It is what it is. Fantosh says, hello Fabio, love your channel. I would like to ask, is there a way to disable SAM via drivers? Yeah, I asked AMD for that, but it isn't working right now. Yeah, there's no way to disable it via drivers right now. Maybe with some registry command or something like that, but yeah, besides that, not really. So guys, I guess it's time for me to go to sleep. My wife is waiting for me, or my girlfriend, not wife yet. But yeah, she's waiting for me. Thank you very much for watching the live stream. I need to go. Yeah, I need to sleep tomorrow. Yeah, it's a big day. I need to wake up early. So I'll have like maybe 6-7 hours sleep, which is not that bad. And yeah, that's all for today's, I guess. Again, I already have the benchmarks done for the 5080 and the 9070 XT in several games, Windows versus Linux, and there are some interesting things. The 9070 XT actually performs better than in Linux with some games. The RTX 5080 is kind of a mess. I tested before the 4080 Super and it was quite okay in some titles, but the 5080 is just a mess. Even with the recommended open/proprietary drivers that we have right now. Yeah. Thank you very much. If you have any doubts, leave them in the comment section. And by the way, go to my video section because there are lots of interesting videos there. Just believe me. So yeah, thank you very much again. Go to my comment section. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your donations and see you in the next video. I guess